In this assignment, you will be using some of the concepts that we have covered, such as if statements, string manipulations, and some number functions. Here we have a form that is asking the user for a donation. We have a first name, last name, email, a radio button group, and a standalone checkbox. The goal is to fill in all of the information and output what the user has selected. Now, if you look at the source code, the value for each of these radios is the numeric amount, not the free gift. So you will need either an if or a switch in order to determine, based on the amount that is being chosen, what the free gift will be. So you will need an additional variable to hold that. Also, our checkbox is a single checkbox. Therefore, if it is not checked, it will not return a value. So you will also need some kind of a conditional to determine whether or not it was checked or not. Because a single checkbox will not send over a value unless it is checked, you should use the isSet function to determine if indeed a value is there, rather than the empty function. You do not need to validate that the user has made a choice unless you want to do that for extra credit. Therefore, I'd advise you to fill in all the fields every time you test it, unless you have coded in some type of if to determine whether or not it's filled in or not. So if I were to click in Send My Donation, notice I'm going to get an error message. Technically, there is nothing wrong. The problem is that I have already stored a value in a variable, assuming that the value is going to come from a form element. Depending on how you code it, if you want to take this into consideration in your coding, fine. However, if you just want to fill in everything, then you will not get this error message. Now, I am using a form that is posting back to itself. You may do that, or you may send the data to a separate page and display the data on a separate page. Essentially, what you want to say is thank you and the person's name, which is coming from these two text boxes, for sending a donation of, and that was the choice. In this instance, I am posting the data back to itself, so it is not staying here. Now, you want to format this $.00. There are formatting functions in PHP. However, for this assignment, if you just want to add the characters in the string, that's fine with me. And here is where we're telling them what the free gift is. You want a statement that's going to give them a receipt with a receipt ID, which will be sent to the email, which is obviously coming from this form. This receipt ID, you will, number one, generate a random number, which will give you 4 characters in that number. Then you will use the substring to retrieve the first letter of the last name, and you will also uppercase it. So you are dynamically generating this ID here. You will need a conditional to determine whether or not they receive the free gift. So here again, by making sure that all the values are entered, everything will work properly. Now, where you write your message and how you write it is up to you. I would suggest building a string and just outputting one message to your page.